Hey guys, it's Fook, and I want to share with you something that I just discovered that has dramatically changed how I archive and back up my files, primarily my photos, my music, books, movies, TV shows, and videos. So, what I used to do is I would archive my most important files to the cloud, which are my personal photos that I've taken over the last 20 years or so. Um, that are primarily shot in RAW, although in the early days some of them were shot in JPEG, and also my book and my music collection. Initially, I stored all of my videos and photos and whatnot on OneDrive from Microsoft because I had a terabyte uh, per user, up to 5 users, when I signed up for the Office 365 platform, which is $99 a year. And it's actually a pretty good deal. You get the full Office suite that you can use on your computer, on your tablet, phone, whatever, as well as that storage. Um, and then I migrated my photo collection over to Google Drive for the main reason that Google Drive had vastly superior RAW file support. On OneDrive, basically the only RAW files that it would support are Adobe DNG files, the Adobe Digital Negative format. But on Google Drive, it supported DNG, my Canon RAW files, my Olympus and Panasonic RAW files as well. And that was vastly superior. The problem was that it's also a lot more expensive. Google charges $9.99 a month for 1 terabyte of storage. So that's about $120 a year. And when I was looking at it, paying for Office 365, which I do use a lot and I like it a lot. I use it for my productivity, spreadsheets and whatever. I need that, so that's $100. But then if you add on the Google Drive component on top of that, that's another 120. So that's like 220 a year for cloud platforms. So when I heard about Amazon Cloud Drive for $60 a year and unlimited storage, I was blown away and I had to try it. And I'm so glad I did. Uh, what I gather is that Amazon Drive is kind of a late arrival to the cloud-based solutions storage business. And initially, they offer several plans that went through a bunch of permutations. They gave Amazon Prime users unlimited photos and video storage and things like that. That also came with, something like 5 gigabytes for all other types of files, documents, whatever. But then they opened it up, I think, in early 2016 to pretty much anybody for $60 a year for unlimited storage. Now, if you read the fine print, unlimited does not necessarily mean completely unlimited. They're going to look at how you use the account compared to other users and whether you have, stuff that could harm their system or whatever, But I think those are pretty common to what you find with other providers that offer this kind of service. If you're going to put 500 terabytes of stuff on there and use it as a business to transfer files and share files and whatever, they're not going to accept that. But if you're just using it for your own stuff and keeping 10, 20 terabytes, I don't think they're going to go after you, even though you may be at the high end of their user spectrum. In any case, I've uploaded about 5 terabytes of stuff to my account so far. It's only been a week and a half, 2 weeks into the 3-month trial that I got with them, and no issues so far. So let me show you, what it looks like, and then I'll talk about some of the limitations. Amazon Cloud Drive does work on iPads, Android tablets, iPhones, desktop browser, what have you. But for this purpose, I'm going to show you based on my iPad Pro. So the app is free to download from the store. And it's very basic, but it works really well. Excuse me. This is my book collection that I'm still kind of uploading and curating. So, it's going to take a while to kind of sort everything to the way that I like it. But what I do at home is that I have a bunch of external desktop drives, anywhere from 1 terabyte to like 4 terabytes, that I store all my stuff on: pictures, videos I've downloaded, TV shows, movies, music, books, comic books, etc. And I would store, the important stuff on separate drives, make copies of them and keep one in a very safe place, like, a fireproof safe. But the rest is just, at my desk in my office, in the drawer. And the challenge is that if I wanted to access some of my stuff that's on these external drives, first I got to find the drive, then I have to hook it up to the computer and remember where, it is, and then use it. With a cloud-based solution, if you can dump everything into one place, you can just search for it and have instant access pretty much. So while my external drives are kind of my primary backup solution in the sense that, I have them on hand and I re-back them up to new drives once in a while for safety, it's not super convenient. Having it on the web, in the cloud, that I can access from my phone, my tablet, my computer, any computer that I use, frankly, is a godsend. So here's how the app looks. Like I said, very basic. You can have a list view like this, or you can have thumbnail view. And thumbnail views would be for something like pictures. So if I go into my picture folder, I have all of my photos loaded. The biggest collection here is my picture archive on the upper left there. But let's show you what it looks like. Very basic. If I go into my wallpaper folder, I have landscape wallpaper and I have my nude artistic wallpaper. And you can see that for photos, primarily JPEG, it's just the browser. I mean, it displays it. It does go relatively quickly once it gets going, but it is retrieving all of these directly from the web. So, the photo on the right column here that's of the kind of sunset landscape golden tone is what I'm currently using on my iPad as background. But you can see that it does work. Basic, it's live, but it does work, okay? So that's how it looks. If I go into my picture archive, this is where things are not quite as good as, say, Google Drive, just because for RAW files, it only supports, like DNG, the digital negative. So if I were to go into my 2017 folder, it's going to show you the files, but you really don't see the pictures because it doesn't support, say, Panasonic RAW or something like that. So here's an example. So London 2016 was a trip I took with my wife to London. This is list view, but if I go to thumbnail view, you can see that all of the RW2 files are the RAW files from Panasonic, and they just show you as files. It does recognize it as an image file. So in terms of like storage space, if you were using this with their free account, it won't count because they give you unlimited photos and video if you download their app. But if you're looking at it on the web or on their app, it doesn't show you the picture. It does recognize it as image, like I said, but it won't show you the photos. It does show you the videos, so that's kind of cool. So in that regard, it's not quite as good as Google Drive, but for $60 a year for unlimited, it's freaking awesome. And I can work around that. So that's what I do with pictures. For videos, I download a ton of videos online, whether it's Vimeo, YouTube, other sources, whatever. I tend to download them if I like them to keep them, because you never know if, even on YouTube, for example, you never know if the author decides to yank it, or if someone's running a blog and they quit it because they have other obligations or whatever. Especially if it's something that's cool, that gives you, an idea that you want to do someday, or it's tutorials that you want to keep for reference. So for those type of videos, I like to have them around. They're not super critical, but if they go away, it's not going to kill me, but they're nice to have. But they can be huge. So what I've done is I've migrated a ton of them, I think like, half a terabyte to Amazon Cloud Drive so far. But here's the cool thing about videos. If it's under 20 minutes in duration or 2 gigabytes in size, you can stream it. So you don't even have to download it first. So for example, if I go into my travel, vlog, and drone video category, I have a couple that I've downloaded and put on here. And if I touch one, they're all guaranteed to be under 20 minutes and 2 gigabytes. I can just play and it will go ahead and do it directly. So you can see here that it's streaming this video for Venice taken on a Panasonic Lumix LX100, and I'm watching it live. Streaming over Wi-Fi is super fast. Over LTE, if you have the new high-speed cellular data, it's also great. I have T-Mobile Unlimited, so I can just watch it on the go even without a Wi-Fi connection on my iPad. But as you can see, this works really well. If you hate that little title bar on the top, you can always touch the full screen to kind of get rid of that. But as you can see, it really does work really well. So that's one of the cool things for videos. And this also applies to things like TV shows that you may have in your collection. If you have something that's 30-minute sitcoms without commercial, they could be under the 20-minute mark, in which case you can stream them. So that's one other cool thing. The other thing I want to show you are the books. So I have a lot of books that I have collected over the years. They're primarily PDFs, some EPUB, and what I use for reading my books is Google Play Books. Google Play Books is really cool for cross-platform. You can read it on Android, iPad, whatever. The native Apple iBooks app is also great. The challenge is that it only works on Apple, so only on your iPad and your iPhone. So on my Samsung S7, doesn't work. On my Android tablet, can't use it. But Google Play Books is cross-platform, and it does integrate with Amazon Drive. So for books, I have a folder here that I'm uploading all my stuff to before I sort them. So it's just massive. But if I go into one, let's say Linux, okay, I have some here that are PDF. Actually, most of these are probably PDF. But if it's a PDF, it does kind of support it natively. So I can just read it live. And usually it does shrink it. Maybe it's because I'm recording the screen here that it kind of zooms it in. But it does show, a page at a time, and I can scroll and read it live. The other option is I can always just touch the share icon and select open with and send it to Google Play Books, where it'll upload to Google Play Books, and then I can read it using that app on any of my devices. Okay. For EPUB, you do have to do that because the Amazon Cloud Drive app doesn't support it. So let me actually change it to show you what that looks like. So I've uploaded a book to Google Play Book called Edward I, New King Arthur. It's this first one. And that came from Amazon Cloud Drive. So I've uploaded to Google Play, and now I can actually begin and read it on any of my devices. So that's really, really cool. Okay. Last but not least, comic books. So let me get out of here and go back into Amazon Cloud Drive and show you what I mean. I have a huge comic books collection that I've collected over the years. And what I use to read comic books on my iPad is an app called Chunky Comic Book Reader. But I store all of my comic books here. So like I said, I'm in the process of uploading them. So when we look in here, there's not a whole lot at this moment because they're still being uploaded. But you can see things like, Spider-Man, All-Star Batman, Avenger, Green Lantern, New Guardian, what have you. So the nice thing is that I can go in here, select a comic book, and right now it will say preview is not available because the Amazon Drive app doesn't know what to do with comic books. But I can select open in another app down below. It would then download the comic and then give me a list of apps that supports that particular file extension, say Chunky Comic Book Reader, and then it will open up in there. So once I've downloaded from the Amazon Drive app, I can go into my Chunky Comic Book Reader app and read it. So all of these that you're seeing here, so All You Need Is Kill, Fantastic Four, Green Lantern, blah, 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 these were all downloaded from Amazon Drive. And in fact, the All You Need Is Kill comic book series is what started the film Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise. So if you wanted to read the backstory on that movie. It's actually from this comic book, but once you've downloaded and loaded into Chunky, you can read it and it works great. So that's what else I love about the Amazon Drive app. Now, what's not good about Amazon Drive? Well, for one, like I said when I talked about photos, it doesn't support all the raw photo formats that Google Drive support. But for $60 for unlimited storage a year, I can live with that. You have to decide if you can live with it yourself. But for me to have that kind of storage capability at that price point, it's totally worth it. In fact, I've gone ahead and moved all of my photos from my archive on Google Drive over to Amazon Drive and have canceled that $10 a month plan. So right off the bat, I'm already saving $60 just right there. The other thing about Amazon Drive is that the app itself on any of the platform, iPad, iOS, or Android, is frankly not that great. It's very basic. It does crash quite frequently. I shouldn't say that. That's not really fair. It crashes more than Google Drive or OneDrive for sure. Maybe out of 100 times, it'll crash like 5 times or up to 10 times for random unexplained reasons. Whereas you may get one crash for Google Drive or OneDrive. And I say maybe because I really haven't experienced one for a long time. So the app is not as robust, but like I said, it works 95% of the time or more. It's not bad, but you do notice it when it just craps out on you. They are updating it regularly. I do see updates, and maybe that will improve, but that's one thing that I should let you guys know. The other thing is that the web interface for Amazon Cloud Drive is also not as robust as Google Drive or OneDrive at all. It's definitely workable. You can search, you can use it, but it's just very, very bare bones. And last but not least, Amazon as a platform has more outages, in my opinion, than Google or Microsoft OneDrive. Sometimes, using Amazon services, you'll have outages for half the day or most of the regular working hours of the day. I don't think any of your data is compromised, but it's just inaccessible, which, kind of sucks. Does it happen all the time? Certainly not. They would have a huge problems on their hands if it did. But even, one day every 6 months is a huge annoyance. But you have to decide if that's acceptable to you. For me, it is at $60 a year for unlimited. I'll just put it out there. And I think that as they grow this service, and they certainly will grow it with the offering that they're putting out there, I think it's going to improve, and as a secondary backup to my external drive, I like to have that convenience, so I'm not as worried about, accessibility if it goes down, a day or two in a year. But like I said, you have to decide if it's worth it for you. But for me, I think it's totally worth it for the convenience sake alone and how it integrates into other apps that I use. So I would recommend it for sure with a couple of those caveats. And if you know what you're in for, then I think you can be very happy if you set your expectations accordingly. Anyways, that's it, guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave it in the comments and I'll address it as best I can. If you like it, please give me a like and check back with me. I'll have some other videos up with hopefully useful tips that will make your life easier. Thanks, guys. See you next time.